I want to share an experience that I've had, and it's been recent. It was, I'll say, 7 months ago. It's like a build-up, that led to it. A lot of it is anxiety, fear, a nervous breakdown, so to say, but it causes, a constant pattern of thoughts, if you will. I don't know, there's a clinical name for it, and it's derealization. In derealization, it's like all your conditioned mind starts breaking apart, which can be very frightening because everything you know starts being very unreal, I guess, and you keep trying to test reality and refine reality, but who's to say what reality is, just because what you thought it was. Then you learn the constructs of the mind. By doing so, you kind of become aware that the mind is, like a notepad. It takes down information, and then, you can easily erase some words and write a different word and change the meaning of the entire thing with just a few words, beliefs or, structure, and you can only fill it with words, with content, and it's just the way it works. And once all that content starts erasing, you don't know what to identify with anymore. You lose yourself. You no longer have a conceptual self-image. I don't see myself in my own mind. I don't, you walk into a place typically and, you see people and they're looking at you, you're like, well, I know they're looking at me. You get this preconceived notion about everything that you lose all that. Nothing's preconceived because you're not ever thinking about that. The only thing you're thinking about is your perspective feels off. So you're in that awareness. It's like your awareness, it feels like you're living in another dimension. If you want to call it a fourth dimension, being the internal part, who knows? It's just kind of scary, and you feel, when you become aware of what you're doing, it all still feels like a trip. It doesn't matter what you do, because we don't ever really consciously do anything. So think of derealization as just becoming hyper-conscious, super-conscious. Think of it this way. Do you ever consciously walk? Do you ever consciously talk? Do you ever really consciously do anything you do on a day-to-day basis? Do you consciously listen to people? Do you consciously watch TV? And when I say consciously, I don't mean are you awake. I mean quite literally, is your attention there, or is your attention up here in your mind? You see the images, it comes in your mind and it processes, and you're labeling it and analyzing it at such a subconscious level, if you want to call it subconscious. So most of it's subconscious, but some of it's preconscious. And then there is the conscious, but very seldomly do people touch the conscious, And derealization is pretty much that, living in that conscious, but that conscious, you're living as that awareness, but instead of having that awareness projected external, you have it projected internal. That's one thing I've realized. So you live within yourself, but you see beyond yourself. You understand? So when you're solving problems and you feel like you're solving a problem for yourself and you're trying to figure it out, it feels like you're figuring out just in general. Or like a math problem, something outside of yourself, which is a trip. Even though you know that you feel like you perceive weird, but you know that what you're perceiving isn't, you're just perceiving what it is, because you know it's real, you know it's there, because nothing really changes, just the labels unattached. So, it just goes to show also the power of the mind, that the feelings and the ideas you have attached to the other ideas and the other feelings, they all bring each other about, and they create this familiar, call it like a script or a movie, of conditioned mind. And once that's away, what do? Because you can't identify, But, I'm not going to say it's all a bad thing, because good things have come out of it. And, you have your moments of highs and lows, and I have my times when my perspective's external, and I'm just at ease. I've realized the best way to get past it is to get past derealization, which isn't really anything wrong, but to relax with it, with that perspective of derealization, of living outside of yourself and your own problems, but to live, in stillness, if you want to call it. Just surrender. As I always say, surrender. And you think, oh, surrender, well, the surrender is going to take me over. Not quite. Because what happens is, if you don't think of it as a problem, it's not a problem. Buddhism talks about that. Even Christianity, I think, touches bases on that. Jesus, say, when he's going onto the cross, and he's dying on the cross, and he's showing no sign of real agony or pain or remorse, he's not He's not mad, he's not angry, he's accepting it as it is because the moment is there and the moment's happening. And all he can do is accept it because that's how it is. Religion comes from a great point. The problem is people misconstrue it. A lot of it's metaphorical. You know, you can look at it really any way you want, but you don't want to take it literal because it's not written literal, you know. Like, that's like saying that science, everything in science is true. Well, no, a lot of science is theory. It's like psychology in its own isn't even a science, it's an art. It all works out that way. And everyone wants to be right for their own fear of loss of control. That's something I've really borne witness to because of this derealization. And why are we so afraid to not be in control? Because ultimately, if you believe in a God or you believe in a higher power, we're not fully in control. I mean, we are in control as consciousness, but our consciousness is guided on a beyond subconscious, not even subconscious up here, I mean subconscious on an existence level. And we're guided, and synchronicity happens, you know. You meet certain people, and those certain people contribute to you and your mindset, and that contributes to the earth, to the whole, you know. Just like keeping this earth alive contributes to the cosmos in a sense. I mean, we can't possibly know. We can know that we don't know, and that's probably the primary there. You know, go with your instincts, go with your gut, because to be honest, that's really truth, you know. It's hard to go with your instincts on, you know, like a mathematics problem or a scientific problem, but sometimes it's alright, because your subconscious knows a lot more than your conscious does. You know, your consciousness is your awareness. To be aware is better than knowing, because to be aware is truly knowing, if you think what I'm saying. It's not like knowing content. It's not like, you know, I know that 4 plus 4 is 8, and, you know, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and, you know, I'm saying it's not content. It's not like this thing to figure out. It's knowing in the sense of understanding. Understanding is the only way to truly know, and the only way to understand is through, you know, perspective. And instead of thinking of there ever being a definite answer, you know, like saying that Isaac Newton John, whatever his name is that his name is? Isaac Newton John, Isaac Newton, yeah, that his theory on gravity, saying that that's real, you know, like saying that's true. Well, yeah, it might be, you know, somewhat substantial, but who's to say? No one really knows. I mean, we experience gravity, but we don't really know what it is. We got ideas, we got theories. It's all it is, because it can't really be proven. Just like creation, you know, some people want to say that we were created by an external being, or some want to say that, you know, evolution, but I mean, we all showed up here regardless, and we didn't show up as we are. I mean, who's meant to say we did evolve or whatever? You can't possibly know. The fact is, we're here and we're now. Why look at the past? You know, why think of the future? You could die today, you could die tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. Because the fact is, you're alive now. So why be afraid? Don't be afraid of death, because death is inevitable. You know, it's like being afraid that you're going to open your eyes when you wake up. Why would you be afraid of that? It's inevitable, it happens. It's just a part of being alive. It's a part of the human experience. You know, who's to say that there's not anything beyond? I mean, there's so many theories and possibilities, and I've dabbled with so many, you know, by thinking outside the box and thinking that anything's possible. If you look at the world as anything can be possible, quite literally then does the world become your playground. Because you're not in fear. You're thinking of possibility, and if you can accept any possibility, you're not in fear of not knowing. By not knowing, people are afraid of not knowing because they're not lost control, like I was saying. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. Okay, think of it this way. Of this, just devil this perspective. The world in its own, the earth, is a being, just like we are, as it is. Now, we are a part of that earth's immune system. How do you describe our immune system? How our blood cells know to respond and react to whatever, you know, to help us, or white blood cells, and it's just like they all react and work synchronized with one another to keep us alive. That's the way that this earth works. I get a good feeling. Now, I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm saying look at it as a possibility. It's a very beautiful possibility, because that means everybody you meet, everybody you come into contact with, everything you say or do could possibly have justification in action, as long as you do it consciously and instinctually, not by thinking, not by being self-conscious, which isn't really self-conscious, it's just analytical. By trying to find a problem, you're not accepting. You're rejecting what is. By rejecting what is, you're not going with the natural order of things, the natural order of life. You know, and I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm not telling you what not to believe. I'm just saying think outside yourself and think outside perspective and just live as is. Quite literally, just live in the moment. And it's one thing to understand it conceptually, but it's another thing to really realize it. And realization is the only way, I guess, to break patterns, and derealization as well. But realization is, experience causes realization, and experience is the only way to truly learn and understand and gain perspective off of it. Book knowledge doesn't generally give you perspective. I know a lot of people who've got really high degrees that aren't very intelligent, if you want to say. It's just because they don't have an open perspective. They're real closed-minded. So they're the kind of people who can, repetitively do something, but they can't actually create. Once you put down all that, creation becomes so, it's part of our nature, That's just how we are. We're creative. It's just a piece of my mind. Thank you for giving me the time watching.